about my daughter's end of the year show choir performance last night. And I found myself thinking of Sam, who was not that long ago watching his son, Ryder, perform in a much different environment, and then sneaking in a Pearl Jam show. And it's great when you realize, Sam, at some point, isn't it, that your kid's more talented than you are?
For sure, brother. It's a fun thing. I mean, we got a theater kid and a wrestling kid. And my thing is, we're on a sports show, and what you learn as a parent or get confirmed again is like the universal value. And I'm getting big picture here, or deeper, I guess, but like of, passion and dedication to whatever people enjoy. That's the fun part, is seeing, people that you obviously care about a lot work hard and have, pay off for the work they put in. It's fun.
But we also both know it's our wives, right? Like, we had nothing to do with it.
Indeed.
I had said earlier, and again, I sometimes, I know I put you on the spot, and I just want to preface and stand right in front of Sam, anticipating something he may not even say. But Sam is a national writer. Sam covers all the teams. Sam is deep in the playoffs right now. Sam lives here and is as good as anybody at getting Kings stuff, but you can't always expect them to be at their front door. I just tweeted out, and this is just based on what I've been hearing because it's in the news over the last day about Mike Brown, and that all, it sounds like all signs are pointing towards an imminent extension, probably 3 years, somewhere in the $8, $9, $10 million range. Whether specifically or just philosophically, are you hearing anything similar or anything about Mike Brown?
I mean, admittedly, it had been a minute since I got a pulse, but the pulse has been positive the whole time. And it just seemed like, that financial range that you're hitting on was inevitable. Yeah. And, Jamal Mosley's extension in Orlando was known to be kind of something that where Mike felt like, at minimum, and I forget the exact number on Jamal's, but that it was in his industry where you have market values and you have respect within that. Like, there was a sense that he needed to be, around that territory. Jamal's actually a guy that he kind of helped come up in the business. And so Mike is certainly a much more accomplished coach. So, that was an important comp, and it has seemed like the Kings were willing to do what it was going to take to keep him.
Another coach in the news today, JB Bickerstaff let go by the Cleveland Cavaliers, which 99 wins in 2 years, a lot of injuries this year. That really surprised me, Sam. I think it surprised a lot of people, unless there's something behind the scenes. Dan Gilbert had made news yesterday. There was a report that he was going to be far more involved in personnel decisions this summer than he has in the recent past, which is always a good thing, as we talked about, when owners get involved in personnel decisions. So my speculation, which was all that, and I admitted, look, this is irresponsible speculation. The problem is when somebody like JB gets fired with this record, people are going to start thinking, was this a Gilbert move? Was there a rift between he and Donovan Mitchell, and this is a move towards them trying to re-sign him? Do you have any color at all on the locker room or the what led up to JB's being fired?
I mean, a little bit. If you go back, this was one of those where if you go back to early in the season, he was in pretty serious trouble right out the gate. And that part was known at the time. We've reported that at our place. And, you had really the Evan Mobley injury, the Darius Garland injury early on kind of saved him, where the expectations changed because that was the case. What I don't have clarity on right now is, do the Cavs have any, early signaling from Donovan Mitchell about his extension and whether or not he's willing to resign? And does this, indicate that, okay, he's going to resign, but he didn't want to play for JB, or he's not going to resign and they're going to retool? We're going to have to wait and see. But JB, I don't think it's as simple as the owner getting more heavily involved. I think it was actual locker room basketball stuff that where the dynamics, and I know it's cliche and fans get tired of hearing it all the time, but there was an element of him losing the locker room at different times that I think played a part.
So this whole coaching care, we just talked about Mike Brown. He will almost certainly be fine. You have the Lakers and Cleveland. You have a few others. We talked about JJ Redick. I forget where it was, and I'm afraid it might be you guys because that would be embarrassing for me. But somebody had quoted somebody saying that there are people within the Laker organization that believe JJ Redick may have a Pat Riley type presence and effect on them. I know generally you've always had a very good relationship with Jeannie Buss, and again, we're in the playoffs right now, so I'm asking you a bunch of questions around the country, but what's your gut on that, where that's going to go?
I also have a Pat Riley like quality because
yes, you do.
My hair is combed a certain way, and I'm a white man.
Can I say this might be, and I mean, usually I'm very self-deprecating and I'll continue to be, but this might be the best combined hair day you and I have ever had on the show.
Which is your way of saying that you look great.
I'm saying for once I'm not wearing a hat.
Yeah.
And you will probably, I'd say 30% of the time wear a hat, but we're both kind of coiffed and proper. Yeah.
I'm just trying to match your energy, buddy. I just rolled out of bed here in Minneapolis in the hotel room.
All right, Pat. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that reporting I do think is accurate. I think even within the Lakers, they're trying, they have an interesting structure because you have Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka at the top, and then a fairly significant gap to the rest of the basketball operations staff. You got Joey Buss and Jesse Buss and, some other folks in there. And then, of course, you have Clutch Sports with Rich Paul representing LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And this coaching search to me is the first time where there's actually, I think, differing viewpoints even within Clutch, which is interesting because it speaks to the question of, are the Lakers going to build around, LeBron, who's 72 years old, or Anthony Davis, who's going to be there long after LeBron retires? I think the perception is, and the intel is, that JJ Redick is the LeBron hire, and James Borrego is the Anthony Davis hire. So to your question about their infatuation with JJ, it does. There's just a lot of, signaling that they are very, very interested in him. There's also chatter that, he's a media guy, right? So like on the ESPN side, it seems to be a fair amount of concern that they might lose him, and they like him a lot. And then it creates an awkward process because let's just say, for the sake of breaking it down, that they do want to hire JJ, like you might have to wait till after the finals, in which case you have to drag your feet with all these other candidates. And so there has been some questioning about, like, is this a legitimate process? And I think it might be. And I think Borrego actually has a shot. But those are some of the more interesting dynamics.
Sam Amick joining us from The Athletic. Where did I want to go with you? Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you this before we got going here, full force. In the last segment, I was playing Charles Barkley's comments. I don't know if you saw them on Caitlin Clark and the pettiness. And was talking about, I was saying, I'm repeating this for our listeners, but I was talking to an East Coast broadcaster friend of mine, and he was saying that he wants to talk more about the WNBA. He wants to talk more about Caitlin Clark, but every time he does, he gets massive blowback, especially on social media, from existing WNBA fans. And it was the first time I'd heard somebody who another person who had a radio show say, and he had talked to many people who he said felt the same way, that there's a little bit of trepidation amongst some in the media to really dive in because they are new to the sport. So it's a catch-22 where they want to talk about it, they want to grow it, but at the same time, whether you consider the audience big or small for the WNBA, there are people that will come in and say, dude, you've been here 5 minutes, relax with the hot takes, shut up. And sometimes it turns almost dangerous for the career when gender becomes involved, and it's perceived that he's being gender discriminatory, I guess would be the right word, but when really it was a basketball take. And I'm curious, look, you're an NBA guy and you're also not a hot take guy either. You're a journalist with a capital J, but I found myself thinking that's a little bit sideways of a way that a lot of women breaking into broadcasting have felt for decades that everything they say is going to be analyzed to the core. They're going to be held to a different standard. People are going to use code terms like, well, she just has kind of a shrill voice. It's nothing to do. And it's like, except they're actually experts who have studied and watched the sport. I just thought it was an interesting combo, and I'm curious from a journalistic standpoint, how you feel about the emergence and the coverage of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what direction to take that, but I think
I'm sorry that my long rambling question that went 5 ways. Yeah, I got you.
I just gave you the Anthony Edwards treatment that I got a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I don't know what you're trying to do, dog.
All right, I know where you're trying to take me, dude. I don't know where to go with that, but I'll tell you, what a great game last night.
No, I mean, here's my takeaway is like the casuals are coming, WNBA fans, and you should be happy about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some uncomfortable moments within that, but it's definitely a good thing, myself included. You know what I mean? Like, I have a very, very limited amount of institutional WNBA knowledge, and I'm now well aware that the game has gotten better, and I could name more players than I could a couple years ago, and it's time for me and like a lot of folks to start paying more attention. We are going to stub our toe every once in a while, but I kind of admittedly liked Barkley's take because he's probably, there's a lot of nuance that he skipped over, right? Like, it's not, Caitlin Clark did not get them charter planes. There was a years-long push to get charter planes, but she absolutely got that thing over the finish line, and it needed that kind of an energy and that kind of a profile and that kind of a celebrity to get it there. But the part I probably did appreciate about Barkley's take was that it was just cutting through all of it and saying like to WNBA players, like, just, don't look a gift horse in a mouth. It's not a gift, but like, you get the idea. Like, this is what you fought for years. You see, like, Asia Wilson, I think, was interviewed by the Washington Post, and she had a comment about how she thought it was disrespectful to give Caitlin all the credit for things like that. And I agree, and I understand that, but don't lose sight of the fact that it's a very, very good thing that the WNBA is finally moving into the mainstream. And it's neat for me to see that the product seems to be like worthy of that elevation, if that makes sense. Like, the league is in a good place. I mean, she's 0-4 at this point. She's struggling in a weird way. That's, I think, a good sign for the league, where it's like, go ahead, give her lumps, So, we'll see where it goes. I mean, the NBA obviously has got a vested interest in supporting it, and they're trying to make it better too.
I try to apply it and I know this is apples and oranges, but it's like I try to apply it to, I don't know, if Mark Twain was reincarnated and came to the Athletic, and all of a sudden everyone's views went up and you all made like triple the money, would you be like, hey, I love you, Mark Twain, I just bought another house? Or would you be like, yeah, dude, we've been grinding for years. Now everybody is French kissing you. What's going on? Or, here at the radio station, if Howard Stern or whatever came and started doing, well, I don't want to piss off anyone else. Let's just say mornings. And the rest of us all doubled, tripled our money in the short and long term. Would we? I've tried to put myself somewhere in that position as to understand why there'd be any pettiness or whatever you want to call it towards Caitlin Clark. And I weirdly understand the logic of both sides. Let her cook. It's better for the game. Everybody wins. Also, we're athletes and we're competitive, and nobody stood out of the way of Victor Wembanyama and let him dunk 50,000 times just so people could watch him. I feel like there are understandable feelings on both sides of that particular conversation.
They are, for sure. Although, admittedly, you lost me in a funny way when you came so close to creating Sactown sports politics with your breakdown.
Right.
I wish you would have named an actual show and just started
right.
Total fire.
Right.
Yeah, like Wembanyama comes to mind for me. Like, it's funny. It's not a great comp, a little bit apples to oranges, but the Spurs. Throughout the course of Victor's first season, like, from a media standpoint, they weren't they're never very cooperative or helpful in San Antonio to begin with when it comes to media, but they actually were worse than normal, right? And one of the things I heard was like that Victor's teammates were tired of talking about Victor. And so they were, as a ripple effect of that, reporters were having a harder time getting time with players in certain environments because every question was about Victor Wembanyama. That's how some of the players felt. And while I understand that, it kind of speaks to what you hit on, which is like fast forward 3 years when, 3, 4, 5 years when Victor's raising an NBA trophy and maybe even some of those guys that he played with are still there. Probably not, but you get the point. Like Victor being there is a good thing for the Spurs, but you might have some feelings along the way. And again, the great part about Caitlin Clark and that whole reality is that guess what? She's got to be on the floor and go compete and do her thing. If if you want to make sure that people realize that the rest of the WNBA is pretty good too, then go kick her ass. Like you have that opportunity,
Sam Amick joining us. Sam, you were there, so I don't know. I assume you've seen a replay. Was that a bad call on Rudy? Was that a bad call on Karl Anthony Towns to put back, in your opinion?
It looked like it, yeah. And Mark Davis, man, like, geez, what a night he had. The official crew chief of that game, and I don't know if that was his. I think it was his call because he got on the camera to announce it afterwards. But Dave, I got to tell you, and this is a different play, but when they upheld the Mike Conley foul on, was that on? I forget who that was on. You know which one I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Okay, they challenged. It was pretty close before the Karl Anthony.
Oh, yes, and he didn't have. Yes, I don't remember who that was on though.
He gets on the mic and he says, upon further review, Mike Conley's subtle but effective nudge of whoever, and like the second that subtle but effective came out of his mouth, the place just went nuts.
Right.
And I tweeted like, Mark, nobody can hear you.
Right.
Now they've just overtaken you. And he's just like, his mouth is moving on the Jumbotron, but there's no noise coming out because the place is just irate.
Sure.
And so I just think the verbology that some of these refs try to come up with to explain these different calls and the fact that the league has put them in a position to have to become public speakers.
And they should all take notes from Bill Kennedy, right? Like Kennedy's got to be the best.
Hold on. Since we got YouTube,
that
massive YouTube audience, here's the Bill Kennedy. You got to lean in and you gotta flex the tries. So the elbow's got to go, we reviewed the play. I don't have the tries, but like you do that.
You're totally right. It's almost like the Guy Fieri pose when he's eating the sandwich where he's doing the lean over, but he's got his hands on the desk and he's just flexing.
I mean, he just Bill loves his guns.
Bill loves his gun. Bill loves some Bill, and he's good at it, though. I wonder. It's funny you say that, Sam. Next time you're talking to an NBA person, you should honestly ask them, like, is there any guidance classes or anything refs get when it comes to leaning into the camera and explaining a call, or are they just expected to go and do their thing? I honestly am curious if there's ever been any guidance.
That'd be a good story. As a side note, and I'm assuming you know this,
yeah.
Are you aware of Billy Kennedy's favorite off-court passion?
No.
He's like a legit lover of karaoke.
No.
He's a big-time karaoke singer, which always – so now you will never, like, forget that. So now when you see Billy on the camera,
yeah,
it's like it makes perfect sense.
Will you do me a favor? Because I feel like Bill Kennedy, I mean, just the age and his age group and all that, this would be a guy that knows if you're karaokeing. I just imagine Bill Kennedy just smooth singing, hits in the 70s and 80s and all that, maybe even the 60s. Next time you talk to Bill, you're not going to remember this, but I believe the most –
You want to know his playlist?
I believe – yes, I would. I believe the most underrated the most underratedly difficult song to sing in karaoke. Because I've seen people. I used to date this. You know this. I used to date a bartender before Melissa at a karaoke bar, and I would be there, and I would just watch people just crash and burn constantly. I've never seen anyone crash and burn more than on, I don't know if you know the song Lovely Day by Bill Withers.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's a very nice, soft, lovely day, all that. And most everybody can sing it. But then at the end of the song, Bill Withers belts out Lovely Day in a completely different octave about literally 25 times in a row. And even the people that can make it through the first 4, they can't make it through the rest. Their voice goes. So long way of saying, I'd love to know, for a karaoke guy, that's always my question. Have you ever sung Lovely Day by Bill Withers? And if he goes, yeah, then you're the guy. That's the secret question.
Then he gets to flex for all of eternity.
Then he can flex. Sammy, maybe he's not flexing maybe he's flexing his voice box and we're missing it.
He's the one. I mean, Mark seemed a little bit rattled by the crowd last night. Bill always kind of, impresses me because I think comfort level, who knows, but like, he doesn't care how people react to his stuff.
Sure.
He's just loving that camera time.
I got a couple quick. We got a break. I just super quick because I have them on the list here. God, this went by fast.
You're making me concerned, by the way, about is nobody going to read our coverage of this Timberwolves Maverick series? Because you clearly have no interest in the Western Conference Finals, man.
I asked you about the cat putback.
That's true.
Aha! We haven't even talked about Boston and Indiana.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on. Well, come back tomorrow. We'll do that. Should, much like they've adjusted the positions for, your because of the Embiid Jokic thing.
Yeah.
Should they have positions for all defensive first, second, and third team? Because I feel like guards are getting screwed.
Oh man, that's not a great one for me because I didn't study the results very well.
That's okay. I will tell you, like, for the defensive player.
And truthfully, all I care about is finding out who gave Sabonis a defensive player of the year vote.
I thought it was you.
Yeah, it was not me.
It was not?
No.
Well, somebody very smart. You disagree? I'm just saying the little guys get screwed, Sam. It's all big men.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
how's De'Aaron Fox doesn't even get on one of the 3 teams, and he led the league in steals? Can we both agree a steal is better than a block? A block goes out of bounds. A block can go to the other team. 100% of the time when you steal, you get the ball. Why can't we get a third team for him?
I've actually never thought about that point. That's a hell of a point.
All right. Well, on that, can we end there? Because that's great. When I have a national writer say, that's a hell of a point, I never thought about it before in basketball, I'm going to wear that all day long.
There it is.
Along with the hair. Sam Amick writes for The Athletic. He is the best in the business and our dear friend. He joins us each and every Thursday at 8 a.m. Have fun in my old stomping grounds of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Enjoy the series, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Be good.
Thank you. You too. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll finish some stuff out from what we talked